$200,000 jobs appear everywhere. You see them in listings. You hear about them in conversations. You see salary ranges that suggest they are common. And it creates a very specific perception that reaching $200,000 is just a matter of time, a matter of experience, a matter of skill, that if you keep improving, you will eventually get there. But that perception breaks at a certain point, because $200,000 is not just a higher salary, it is a different category, and most engineers never enter it, not because they stop improving, but because the system does not assign that level broadly. Most roles in engineering are designed to scale. They are built for distribution. You can add more engineers, you can split responsibilities, you can expand teams, and when a role scales like that, its value stabilizes. Because the system does not depend on one person, it depends on many, which creates predictable compensation ranges and predictable growth. But $200,000 roles behave differently. They are not built for distribution. They are built around concentration. Fewer positions, more responsibility, higher expectations. These roles sit closer to decisions, closer to system control, closer to outcomes that affect the entire organization. And that proximity changes how value is assigned, because the impact is not isolated, it is systemic, which means fewer people can hold that position. And that is where the constraint appears. The system does not expand these roles at the same rate. It cannot, because they are not designed to scale. You do not need 10 people making the same high-level decisions. You need a few, and that creates scarcity. Not artificial scarcity, structural scarcity. This is why $200,000 salaries feel visible, but remain rare. You see the outcome, but you don't see the distribution behind it. A small number of roles, spread across a large number of engineers. And that ratio does not favor expansion, which is why most engineers never reach that level, not because they lack ability, but because they are operating in roles that are designed differently, roles that distribute value, instead of concentrating it. There is also a visibility effect. High salaries are more visible than average ones. They get shared more, discussed more, highlighted more, which creates the illusion of frequency. But visibility is not distribution, and the system is defined by distribution, not perception. This is where expectations become misaligned, because the path appears linear, but the structure is not. At lower levels, growth feels predictable. You gain experience, you increase compensation, you move forward. But as you approach higher ranges, the structure changes. Fewer openings, higher expectations, more competition for each position, and more selectivity from the system. This creates a different kind of barrier, not visible early in a career, but very clear over time. Because at lower levels, growth is driven by progression. At higher levels, growth is driven by selection. And selection is limited. Not everyone moves forward, because not everyone can. Within the structure that exists, there is also a timing layer. Some engineers reach high-leverage roles early, others later. But timing does not change the total number of positions. It only changes who occupies them, which means even strong candidates can miss the window, not because they were unqualified, but because the system had already filled the available space. This makes the path feel unpredictable, but it is not random. It is constrained. There is also a pressure layer at this level. As compensation increases, expectations increase, tolerance for mistakes decreases, visibility expands, and responsibility becomes continuous. These roles are not just higher paid, they are less forgiving, which further reduces how many people can operate in them. This reinforces the structure, because it is not just about getting in, it is about staying, and both are selective. This is also why switching companies does not always solve the problem. You may see a temporary increase, a higher offer, a better range, a faster jump, but the underlying structure remains the same, and over time, the same constraints appear again. Because the role you are in has not changed, only the context has, and the system continues to apply the same rules. This creates a cycle: growth, stabilization, attempted movement, then stabilization again, not because of failure, but because of structure. And this is where most engineers get stuck, not at the beginning, but near the top of scalable roles, where the next step requires a shift in position, not just improvement inside the same role. So when you see $200,000 salaries, you are not looking at a natural next step. You are looking at a different layer of the system, one that is smaller, more concentrated, and more selective. A layer where roles are fewer, decisions are larger, and impact is broader. And unless your position changes, that layer remains out of reach, not because it is impossible, but because it is not widely assigned. This is part of what I break down step by step in the $200,000 system below.